Today's question is from Tony. Says, I'm having a hard time getting my wife on board. We have no consumer debt, just our house. Our emergency fund is fully funded for a year. We make around $311,000 a year before taxes. I've cut up my credit cards, but my wife doesn't want to cut hers up. She feels like she needs to have them for an emergency. What can I do to get her on board and not argue about cutting her cards up? So I'm looking at this. This is not an issue this is not a math problem. This is not a rational approach problem. Over the years, how have you seen this play out, Dave?
Well, I mean, the answer to your question is how do I get her on board is complicated, but her actual statement is absolute horse crap.
It's incorrect.
Yeah. I mean, that's just bull. You don't need a credit card for an emergency. You make $311,000. You have a fully funded emergency fund and no debt. That's just stupid.
You have a double emergency fund.
Now, but that's not exactly how you convert her. Okay, we wouldn't go at it that way. Okay,
hey, honey, you're stupid.
Hey, you're just dumb. No, that's ridiculous. That one never worked for me. So let's try a different tack. So the thing is this. I always, anytime I'm trying to get anyone, spouse included, on board with something, I generally will pan back and look further into the future. Instead of like this week, I'm thinking about credit cards, I'm thinking about what are the best things that are in our life, what has to be true about our life that gives us, or if these things were true about our life, that give us the best probability of being prosperous in our marriage and prosperous financially. So 20 years from today, if we're using credit cards as our emergency backstop, is that the most likely way that we become prosperous? Or if we got rid of them, is that the most likely way that we become prosperous? And so then what that does is it takes your hands off the wheel of the moment, the anxiety in the moment. Because what's happened here is she remembers being broke. And so I can tell you 30 years ago, we filed bankruptcy, had our water cut off, our electricity cut off, almost lost our home, had a brand new baby and a toddler. And if I move towards a purchase of some kind 30 years later without my wife being involved and agreeing that the idea is within our budget and it's not going to destroy us, then that pattern of behavior, that body language that I do when I do that, activates her memory.
Off, huh? Yeah.
It's a trauma response.
Yeah, that's right.
She has a trauma response to it. And so she'll go, she'll act like we have absolutely no money and we have hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
It's like, oh, God, he's doing it again.
Right.
It's like, whoa, we were buying a box of gum here at Costco. We don't need that much gum. It's like, holy crap. It's like, you're out of control. And it's like, she doesn't yell like that, but her body does. I can watch her do that.
Yeah.
And those eyes get that fire in them, And all that is she just is that it activates that terror down inside of her that she felt when she was a young mom and didn't know if her kids are going to have food.
Right.
And so that's why your wife's not cutting up her cards, not because of present day circumstances, but because she remembers. Am I right?
Yes, and I've also seen the more on my show here is there's a sense that. And it's so far it's been uniquely women, but it may go with men too. This idea that I need to hang on to something in case he leaves. I'm going to hang on to some sort of something so I'm not hung out to dry here.
It's my last vestige of independence.
That's right. And so I would ask Tony something about their dynamic at the end of the day says she doesn't feel safe.
Ooh.
Could it be that she doesn't feel safe, what you're talking about, because of past, she remembers being broke? Yeah. She doesn't feel safe because there's something about you, husband, who's making all this.
A little different definition of an emergency.
Yeah, like I just need an escape hatch in case this thing goes south.
Yeah.
And so if everything's safe around the board, I love the idea of, hey, would you commit to 30 days of practicing? Can we put these in a drawer somewhere over here?
Well, let's think about what gets us to this place we want to be 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And then what are those activities? And then is there a way we can
Let's practice. Baby step.
Practice into that and put them in the drawer, freeze them in the garage, freeze them in a block of ice, use only debit cards. And then you go, okay, if we had an emergency, what could we rely on? And in the sense of being independent or safe, like, after we had already were millionaires again years later, Sharon's daddy sent her some money. And it wasn't a lot. I mean, $10,000-$20,000 or something, whatever. It was nice gift. I mean, he sent all his kids like some money, right? It wasn't life changing, but it was just a little pile of money. And she's like, well, what do we do with this? And I'm like, well, let's just open a mutual fund in your name. And so it's got her name on it and my name,
right?
But her name's first.
And that there's something,
and it's like that's her mutual fund in air quotes,
right?
That we own,
right?
That her daddy gave us, and very nice little gift, and it's grown. That's many years ago. It's turned into some money, over time. But to this day, if you go into my file drawer, it's like there's a little tab, Sharon's mutual fund, and so there's this sense of that. And it's not that we separated our finances, or not that I was worried about the legality of it, or not that she was. There's none of that. It was more of an emotional, this is yours, thing, and it again relaxed that traumatized place in her spirit that was legitimately I mean, I'm not making fun of her. She had every right to be that way. And so our emergency fund now has an emergency fund for that reason.
I always want to go back to that question. And it's becoming more and more of a question I ask myself and my wife and my kid in my community. If you don't feel safe, none of these things I'm going to teach you are going to matter, because your body's going to be off trying to make sure you don't die in whatever weird way it's trying to do that. So how can I create safety? And there is a point when you can't hear it. You're choosing not to hear that you're safe. Fine. I can't do anything about that. But man, is there a way, Tony?
Yeah. So a couple of things here. One is look for the safety. 2 is look long term. And then 3 is develop some steps of practice that can cause her intellect to ride into her emotions. That you live. Okay, we're living without this. Oh, we're living without it. Oh, we can live without it. Oh, we're okay without it.
And this word has been abused in our culture, but that, Dave, is mindfulness. That is, all of a sudden she gets a little bit, her heart starts beating a little bit faster. I need that credit card. Oh, no, I don't. Right? That's just having that feeling, thinking about it, and then letting it pass. Because I've got a debit card in my wallet with a year's worth of salary in it. We're good.
Yeah, I mean, I got a debit. My debit card will do everything your credit card will do.
Times probably 2 or 3, right? You're
good. I mean, because there's money in there,
right?
And so I can go just buy
my
ridiculous something if subject to the daily limitations on the stupid thing or whatever.
Yeah, maybe Tony, go get her 2 debit cards from 2 different banks, and it's got each one of them's got X number of $1,000 in it, and who knows?
Yeah, and that's not to be touched.
Right.
These are debit cards we don't use because they're tied to the emergency fund.
Emergencies. All right.
And so they have the exact same power that if you wanted to drop $25,000 into credit card debt due to an emergency, instead we have $25,000 in this account that's never going to be touched, and the debit card's in your wallet.
Right.
How is that different mechanically? It's not.
Right.
It's actually better.
Yeah.
So you've got to offset it, and but here I will tell you, Tony, that I run into a lot of marriages, too, and this falls under the heading of feeling safe or being safe, including mine in the early days, where she doesn't feel like she has an equal vote at the budget committee meeting. And so she needs to hold this in case you go crazy because her vote doesn't count. And so it took a while for Sharon and I to get to where Sharon really felt her vote was equal to mine on financial decisions and on the budget committee meeting monthly. We're going to spend money on this because you want to and I don't want to. Nope. Till we come into agreement, we're not doing it.